Have you ever felt drained after spending time with someone who constantly criticizes, manipulates, or makes everything about themselves? Toxic people have a way of pulling others into their emotional storms, making them feel responsible for fixing problems they didn't create. But what if you could remain completely unaffected by their behavior? What if their words and actions no longer had the power to disturb your peace? The Stoics believed that true strength comes from mastering our emotions and refusing to be controlled by external forces. Epictetus taught, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, no one can truly upset you unless you allow them to. Toxic people feed off emotional reactions. They push your buttons to keep you engaged in their cycle of negativity. The key to breaking free is learning to detach. However, indifference in the Stoic sense does not mean apathy or ignoring others. It is the ability to recognize what is and isn't worth your energy. Instead of trying to change toxic people or seek their validation, you shift your focus inward, regaining control over your own life. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Imagine a toxic person making a passive-aggressive comment, expecting you to get defensive. Instead of reacting, you pause, breathe, and let their words pass through you like the wind. You don't engage, you don't justify, you remain in control. Their power over you lies in your reaction. Without it, their influence disappears. Seneca wisely said, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. When dealing with toxic people, this delay, the ability to pause and assess a situation rationally, is your greatest tool. Rather than feeding into their negativity, you remain centered and calm. Over time, this practice becomes second nature, shielding you from their manipulations. Detachment is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of strength. The moment you realize you don't need to fight toxic people, avoid them or change them, only master yourself, you achieve true freedom. 1. How toxic people control you. Toxic people rely on emotional manipulation to maintain influence over others. They use guilt, gaslighting, passive-aggressive remarks, and exaggerated victimhood to make you feel responsible for their emotions. Their goal is not to resolve conflicts, but to keep you entangled in negativity, ensuring control over your emotional state. The key to breaking free is recognizing their tactics and refusing to engage. Epictetus warned against giving others power over your peace of mind. He said, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in matters that are not your concern. In other words, not everything requires a response, especially the provocations of toxic people. They expect you to defend yourself, argue, or prove them wrong. But the moment you stop reacting, their influence weakens. Think about a toxic friend who constantly criticizes your choices, disguising their insults as concern. Their intent is not to help, but to plant doubt and insecurity in your mind. The Stoic response is simple: observe without absorbing. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. If you decide their words hold no meaning, they lose their power. Toxic individuals often create a false sense of urgency, pressuring you to react immediately. But Seneca advised, he who is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who has a hasty temper exalts folly. Slowing down your response time gives you control. When you pause, analyze, and respond only when necessary, you avoid being emotionally hijacked. The next time someone tries to bait you into their negativity, remember, you are not obligated to engage. You don't have to argue, explain, or justify yourself. Simply let their words pass without impact. This is how a Stoic dismantles toxicity, not by resisting, but by refusing to play the game. 2. The power of Stoic indifference against toxic people. The most effective way to disarm toxic people is through Stoic indifference, not by ignoring them, but by refusing to let their behavior influence your emotional state. Toxic individuals thrive on reactions. The more you engage, the more power you give them, but when you practice indifference, their ability to control you vanishes. Epictetus taught, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them." A toxic person's words have no real power. It is your interpretation that gives them significance. The moment you stop assigning importance to their negativity, their influence fades. This is why Stoic indifference is so effective. It renders toxic behavior meaningless. Imagine someone trying to provoke you with insults or passive-aggressive comments. A reactive person might argue, defend, or feel hurt. A Stoic, however, recognizes these words as mere sounds, empty unless given meaning. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When you stop reacting, you force the toxic person to confront their own behavior. Practicing Stoic indifference requires self-discipline. Toxic people may escalate their tactics when they see their usual methods no longer work. But Seneca advised, "He who has learned to laugh at himself will never cease to be amused." By refusing to take toxic people seriously, you reclaim your peace. The next time someone tries to pull you into their negativity, remember, their words mean nothing unless you give them meaning. Instead of reacting, observe with detachment. Let their insults and manipulations dissolve into irrelevance. This is how Stoics win, not by fighting back, but by making the battle unnecessary. 3. How to practice Stoic in daily life. Applying Stoic indifference to toxic people is not about suppressing emotions, but about controlling your reactions. It requires training your mind to detach from external provocations and focus only on what is within your power. Toxic people will continue their behavior, but your strength lies in not engaging with their negativity. One of the most effective Stoic techniques is diatrisis, the ability to pause and analyze before reacting. When someone tries to provoke you, instead of immediately responding, take a moment to assess the situation. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will my reaction change anything? As Epictetus taught, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Many conflicts with toxic people can be avoided by simply choosing not to engage. The dichotomy of control, a core Stoic principle, reminds us to focus only on what we can control. You cannot dictate how toxic people act, but you can decide whether their words affect you. Seneca advised, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Many times, the stress caused by toxic individuals comes from overanalyzing their behavior rather than simply dismissing it. When dealing with a toxic person, remind yourself, you do not owe them an emotional response. Let them say what they want. Let them act how they wish. Your indifference is your power. 4. The strength of emotional discipline. Stoicism teaches that true power lies in emotional self-discipline, the ability to remain composed in the face of provocation. Toxic people seek to disrupt your inner balance, but they can only succeed if you let them. The key is to observe without reacting, staying grounded in reason rather than emotion. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You shouldn't give circumstances the power to rouse anger, for they don't care at all." Toxic people may try to provoke you, but their words and actions are meaningless unless you assign them importance. Instead of engaging in their drama, a Stoic remains neutral, refusing to surrender control over their emotions. One way to strengthen emotional discipline is through self-reflection. After an encounter with a toxic person, Write down how you felt, what triggered your emotions, and whether your reaction was necessary. Seneca advised, "We must give up many things to which we are addicted, considering them to be good. Otherwise, courage will vanish, which should be tested daily." Training yourself to respond with reason instead of emotion takes time, but the results are transformative. Another powerful exercise is visualizing toxicity as external noise, a meaningless sound in the background of your life. Just as you wouldn't get angry at the wind for blowing, you shouldn't become emotionally invested in the words of toxic people. Epictetus taught, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The moment you recognize that your peace is in your own hands, you stop giving others the ability to disturb it. Toxic people will continue their behavior whether you react or not. The difference is whether you allow them to dictate your emotions. A Stoic strength does not come from winning arguments or proving points, but from mastering themselves. Once you develop this level of control, you become untouchable. 5. The emotional chains of toxic people. Recognize, resist, reclaim your power. Mastering Stoic indifference is not about becoming emotionless, it is about choosing where to invest your energy. Toxic people will always exist. Some will manipulate, others will criticize, and some will try to drag you into their chaos. But once you realize that their words and actions only hold power if you let them, you achieve true freedom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If you dwell on the negativity of others, you allow them to take up space in your mind. But when you train yourself to dismiss their influence, focusing only on what truly matters, you reclaim your peace. This mindset shift doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice and self-awareness. Seneca advised, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. Instead of engaging with toxic individuals, surround yourself with people who encourage growth and wisdom. Stoicism teaches that the greatest victory is not in defeating others, but in mastering yourself. The moment you stop seeking validation, stop reacting impulsively, and stop allowing negativity to dictate your emotions, you win. Toxic people lose their grip over you, not because you fought back, but because you became untouchable. Now, ask yourself, how do you handle toxic people? Have you ever tried the power of Stoic indifference? What happened when you stopped reacting? Drop a comment below. I want to hear your experiences. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this wisdom with someone who needs it. Let's build a community of resilience and inner strength.